Back again for another video. So I'm going to make an addition to my last video, and this addition is going to be speaking to what I was getting at in regards to avoiding the 50-50 relationship. You have to understand that the 50-50 relationship does not start with money. It starts with ideology. It starts with the intangible. Remember, everything that is tangible has a intangible existence first. So even though you may see 50-50 relationships, they didn't start off with money. They didn't start off with responsibilities. They start off with intangible understanding and communication. The reason why this happens is because a lot of times men do not come in establishing their role. They come in with the ideology that your say is just as equal as my say, or your input is just as equal as my input. They don't come in necessarily with a leadership responsibility in regards to how things are supposed to be. They don't come in with a leadership authority of how things should be. They come in with the ideology, once again, that your say, that your thoughts, that your input, that your everything is just as equally as important in a relationship as mine. That's how men come into the relationship. This is a very intangible expression. This starts usually on the onset from dating. You know, Here's something that you all should understand in regards to teaching and receiving. There are two different things. Receiving doesn't require that you do any work at all. Think about it. When you receive presents at Christmas, when you receive presents at your birthday, when you receive donations, when you receive all these things, they don't necessarily require, and they're not fixated around you having to do anything. A lot of times, look at these chicks on Instagram. They take a few pictures and they get all of this money for a few pictures, right? They didn't necessarily do anything. Women are more geared towards receiving rather than being taught, because receiving doesn't require as much work as being taught does. Being taught requires submission, because you have to submit to someone greater than yourself in order to learn things. A lot of women these days, once again, are not used to metamorphosis. They're not used to progression. They're not used to being led forward. They're only used to having handouts given to them. When you walk into a relationship and you do not establish yourself as the authority, as the leader, as the person that she looks toward to, as the authority figure, once again, then you start the relationship off at the 50-50 stance. Regardless of what you try to do later on in the relationship, regardless of what you say, regardless of how much you try to teach her, this is how the relationship started. It started with a 50-50 stance, meaning, once again, that you did not establish yourself as the authority figure. You did not establish yourself as the teacher. You did not establish yourself as the leader, and therefore she is not going to be the follower, the submissive, or the student. She's going to be your equal in her eyes, because there was no establishment of how the relationship started. You have to establish this immediately. The reason why is because, once again, how you start is how you finish. How you start is also what sets the tone for the relationship. This is a lot of times why men find themselves on the bad side of the fence when it comes to the women. It's because they did not establish those things in the beginning that they should have, such as I've named, the leadership, the authority, the teacher. But one thing that you have to also keep in mind about this as well is that you have to be in that role before that woman ever comes across your path. You have to be an authority. You have to be a teacher. You have to be a leader. But the question is, who are you going to be authority over? Who are you going to be a leader over? Who are you going to be a teacher over? If there's no one else around but you. You have to start with yourself. That's the key to this. You have to start with yourself in regards to being those things. You have to practice with yourself. You have to practice the discipline that is necessary in those three genres of existence. They can be all in one, mind you. You can be a teacher, leader, and an authority figure all at once. But nonetheless, you have to establish this with yourself first before you can establish with any other female. The reason why is because you need practice. You just can't walk into something and expect that you're going to, just because, just because your genitals fit her genitals doesn't mean that you establish yourself as an authority figure. See, once again, before you touch a female, before you, I would suggest, this is my suggestion, before you even touch a female, you should establish your role in her life automatically. And how do you do this? You have to have something in which to lead her to teach her to be authoritative over, right? But this starts with you. You can't walk up into a female's life and just be like, okay, well, I don't have anything else that I'm, the authority over. So I guess we'll start with you. She's going to look at you like, boy, get out of here. What them chicks say? Boy, bye. That's the favorite word. They use that little phrase, boy, bye. That's what you're going to get from her, essentially. And she may not say this verbally, but her attitude, her demeanor, her posture is definitely going to relay this to you. This is the important part of what I'm saying, is that it is very necessary that you understand what you're getting into. A lot of men do not understand that this relationship of 50-50 it doesn't revolve around money. It doesn't revolve around assets. It doesn't revolve around who owns this and who's paying this bill and who cleans this. It starts with the intangible first. And the intangible is the establishment of who is what and what role plays under that person. That's what happens. Now, once again, how you avoid this. I'm not necessarily a how-to kind of guy, but I think this is it. I think that I give a lot of how-tos in response to how things operate from the way that I see them. I think you can infer how-to based on me describing how things work, right? But I think I'll give a how-to about this. Part of it, yes, is establishing yourself as the authority figure. But the other part of it is the same stuff that I named in my channel when I said that you should find someone who is on your path. You have to select this woman who can add to what you have already established. All the stuff that I'm saying are bricks into the wall that you need as a defense against the things that you do not want to become a victim of. All this stuff is very important. You have to understand that when you establish things right the first time, you don't have to go back and fix them. You have to realize that that how you start is a huge part of it. I would say personally, how you start a relationship is roughly about 90% important in the relationship. It's not the sex, it's not the money, it's not anything, it's not any of this stuff. And I would even double back even further. The 90% of the importance in the relationship is all dependent upon how well you practice in your own time. All this stuff is very important. How well you discipline yourself, how well you are able to see past the woman's beauty and realize her potential. All this stuff is very important because it requires that you have a certain discernment about yourself. You don't become discerned when you witness a woman. You become discerned before you witness a woman. So we have to practice these things. We have to practice learning how to define ourselves so that when we look outwardly, everything else just falls into place and it falls right into structure. You have to have that level of discernment of self in order to be able to rule, to be authoritative, to be the teacher, the leader of a woman beforehand. All this stuff is very necessary. But anyways, I wanted to make this just a short little video. I didn't want to make it too long because I already put a video out today. But anyways, like, comment, and share. Check me out on Facebook. Check me out on Patreon. But until next time, this has been the Wolf and Beta Close. May you have a good day. And of course, as you know it, peace be with you.